Let's get some analysis now from European affairs analyst Klaus Jurgens, who joins me live now from Innsbruck in Austria. Thank you for being with us on the program. So many EU countries, as we've heard in that package, have announced that they will recognize Palestinian statehood at the UNGA in September, and others they haven't, one being Germany. Why haven't they followed suit despite the pressure to do so?
Thanks for having me. I have to be very brief because I want to make one very personal point. I think, and hopefully many people in Germany actually and in Austria are going to watch your fine program, not about me, but about your program. Now, when I grew up, yes, we had the Staatsräson in Germany. You have to defend Israel because we knew the Nazi horrors and the Holocaust. It became our guilt complex up to a certain extent, but then we grew up. And eventually we even said, look, if one day Israel would do something wrong, there's only one country that should be allowed to tell them firsthand, and that should be our, at that time, Western Germany, and later on, the United Germany. And this is a clear message to all my German viewers now. We have overlooked a little fact. We did something wrong, horribly wrong, but we came out on top as a leading democracy. And Israel should not be allowed to make the same mistakes a former Nazi German country has ever done. So I'm sorry for this personal point, but I think you have me as a German who actually can look a little bit over the shoulder of other countries. So yes, please, it's a wake-up call. Now, second, yes, from Canada. Only Portugal was announced recently. Europe is waking up. Other countries are waking up globally. A genocide like this, and I do call it genocide. I'm very seldomly using the word, but this time I really do. We saw this terrible, horrible, shocking pictures one more time in your previous clip, and it has to stop. And I'm still wondering why it did not stop earlier. Why could this bloodshed not have stopped earlier? So many innocent Palestinians lost their lives. Now, you asked me why the Germans. It is still die Staatsräson. It is still this ever-present feeling of that Germans that we have to come to defend Israel, whatever it does. But I hope that this attitude is changing. Two comments. I'm sorry to looking away from the camera, but it's very important for our German friends. Stefan Cornelius, the speaker of the government, says no short-term plan, but yes, in the long term, we have to solve the conflict. And the foreign minister only said the end of process we can't declare today, but it has to start that there will be an end of this situation. And this is the only positive sign coming out from Germany. I hope that European allies, international allies will tell Berlin, look, you with your past should know better, and wrongs are not being remedied by doing another wrong.
Right, but that's certainly not the rhetoric that we're hearing from the U.S. In fact, they've been critical of the nations that have taken these measures, and it went as far as threatening tariffs on Canada for saying that they will recognize a Palestinian state. How big of an impact is the U.S. potentially having on Germany's decision-making process?
Well, we have to go back to the United States, my dear colleague, and the Israeli lobby. I wouldn't call it the Jewish lobby, because I think in the end of the day, Jewish people will be as peace-loving, in particular with the history, as everyone around the world. I think it comes down to governments and in particular. So I would not say after what I call a catastrophic outcome in Scotland, 15% tariffs, EU, very well done, I would almost say cynically to President Mrs. von der Leyen. Now, what is the bargain? I think Europeans are no longer afraid of a tariff, because tomorrow Donald Trump might say it is, again, 22% or 21.5%. And I think Canada will not be worried that much initially. Yes, domestic industries will suffer. But then, I mentioned on the previous program, if, for example, the Europeans would innovate their industries, in particular small and medium-sized enterprises, invest into, reconstructing ailing businesses, produce high-end goods themselves, much more rely on exporting instead of importing. A tariff would perhaps not be that much any more of an interest, because there are other countries. There's Asia, there's China. So I would say this time there is a threat, and Washington is playing it very cleverly. But don't forget, it is the Israeli lobby, very, very, very active in with lots of money, lots of billions of money in America. And I hope that this will not spill over to Europe. And maybe Europe will be more clever this time. But most of all, we need peace in Palestine, and the dying of innocent people must end.
Indeed, but what we're hearing from Palestinians who have largely welcomed these actions being taken by the international community, they say that it's largely symbolic. Would you share that view, or do you think that this will have a real impact on the future of Palestinians?
Well, think about Germany air bombing, like the air bridge after the Second World War. As I said, my country should have learned a lesson. Yes, of course, this is what I would consider symbolic. The borders have to be opened. All of the remaining borders have to be opened. Land managed aid must enter Gaza, not what we see now in the background. Airdropped rescue packages, as nice as they are. But this is basically symbolic. And I fully understand our Palestinian friends. Look, they might say, you want a two-state solution, but you don't want to give it to us. Or when do you want to give it to us? And then the Germans say, maybe not now, maybe later, and we need to have a ceasefire and this and this and that. And the bloodshed would go on, 50 dead people today, and maybe another 100, God forbid. Maybe no one anymore, hopefully. But yes, I would agree with what you say. I fully understand that many people say this is just playing to the gallery.
Okay, Klaus Jurgens, thank you so much for being with us here on the program and sharing that analysis with us. I appreciate it.